artist, my name is Liv and welcome back to another video. I've gotten so much love and support on my reverse coloring book series that I wanted to put together this relaxing compilation you can watch in the background while you're doing other things or even fall asleep to. I hope it inspires your creativity. Wiping the page for some weird reason. For this first page, I saw a bouquet of flowers, so I was planning on doing a lot of flowers, but then as I started drawing, I kind of took it into a different direction. Everybody is gonna see something different on each page. For me, I saw butterflies and leaves. I started outlining different shapes, things like that, so it didn't turn out how I thought it would, but I still really liked how it came out. I had to zoom in a lot so that y'all could see what I was doing clearly, so my camera was having trouble focusing from time to time. This thing looked like a little grasshopper, so I tried to turn it into like a bug that had holes in it. I like my butterflies, I think they look nice. And this little blob I turned into a rabbit. And this looked like a masquerade mask. For this page, I didn't realize that for a couple of parts I was drawing out of frame, so I had to cut those parts out and try to make it like as put together as possible. And the lighting on my phone is really dark for some reason, even with the screen brightness all the way up, so to make it brighter I usually use my two ring lights. But for this video I was just using my small ring light, so it may be a bit too bright in some spots. It's really hard to judge the brightness until I edit the video. Towards the end I ran out of ideas of different variations of roses to do, so there are like one or two flowers that are a bit different. Like this one's not a rose, it's just a random flower that I saw online. The rose that's next to the one I'm doing now, I accidentally did it off screen, but I don't really like how that one turned out. I think it kind of looks like butt cheeks. This is a good rose. I like this one. For this last page, I did some sunflowers all bunched together. I don't know what's going on with my lighting in this one. And my camera's having trouble focusing. I'm really sorry, guys. My last reverse coloring book video got 1.7 thousand likes, which was very unexpected given that I'm such a small channel. So thank you all so much for that. I also got a comment and a subscriber from So Craftastic, which was crazy to me. I never thought she would even notice me or my videos. I don't even know how she found my video. And I've been a fan of hers for so many years, so that definitely made my day. So thank you to everyone that watched episode 1. I really appreciate it. So the first page I decided to start off with this like underwater theme. So I did a bunch of fishes and coral and things like that. My camera just did not want to focus on this page today. I did roses again for episode 2 because I really like roses. They're probably one of my favorite flowers along with lavender. And I keep seeing roses everywhere in these pages. So many of you may not know this, but I am on the autism spectrum, and the thing with autism is you can get obsessed with things quite easily. So for me, it was Posca pins and these micron pins, and instead of buying 1 or 2 pins to try them out like normal people would do, I got 20 of them. And I really like these. I got all the different colors of the microns, and I got all the different nib types. So on each flower I used a different nib point, if that makes any sense. So like one flower will be really thick with a 0.5, and another flower would be really thin with a 0.2. And I think having that variety of different levels of thickness on each flower looked really good. I really need to save up for a proper camera. This page took me a lot longer than the others just because there's so many flowers on this page, but I think it ended up really nice. I forgot to remove the green sticky note off the page. As I was doing this final page, I really needed some inspiration, so I went on Instagram and I looked up the hashtag the reverse coloring book. The pages on there are so amazing and so detailed. So in my next video, I want to take those pages as inspiration and add a bit more extra detail to my pages, like shading and highlights. I think that would make it a lot better than just the standard flowers. I didn't realize how much detail you could actually do on these pages until I looked that up on Instagram. So I recommend looking up the reverse coloring book on Instagram. They have some really great ideas on there. And I loved going through everyone's work and seeing mine on in there as well, because I did some pages and I uploaded them to Instagram. And I think it looks really nice how this page turned out, but I do wish that I did a little more details. I might add a few more details off camera, but I'm not sure yet. I'm just kind of going with the flow. I don't really think adding too much details on these pages looked right at the time, so I want to leave some pages very heavily detailed and others just kind of basic ones like these, because the detailed ones do take up a lot of time and I just don't have the time to sit there and go like super detailed. But one of these days, maybe for the next episode, I might go really detailed. It'll just be a bit longer of a video, or I might have to do 2 pages instead of 3. We'll see. I actually really like this page a lot. And here are the final pages. First page here that I'm doing, I found an image of this bird, but I always like to make my drawings look a little different so they're more original and in my own style. So I drew my bird to look a bit more abstract. I just did some, I think it's called a chicken scratch on the leaves and on the log. And here I'm just adding some highlights with a white gel pen, but the gel pen did rub off easily, so I swapped it out with the whiteout pen later on. Now, originally I thought of outlining all these shapes in my black microns, but I decided I wanted to make the colors of the shapes stand out more, so I outlined them in color using my microns and my Posca pens. I didn't want to outline all of the shapes on this page, so I just outlined some of them and put some dots and some lines in some of the shapes too. page 1 here, I just kept it simple and I did some flowers. I did plan this page out beforehand. I usually edit my videos in VideoPad editor as well, but I swapped over to the desktop version of CapCut and I was able to do some like transitions. I can zoom in on specific parts of the video without having those black bars and a bunch of other cool effects. So if you like this new style of editing and are enjoying the video, let me know by hitting the like button and subscribing to the channel. It helps out a lot. I wanted to make a flower bouquet, but I didn't want all of them to be flowers. I wanted some of them to be just random shapes. This is probably my favorite flower. I really like this one. And this little butterfly here, I wanted it to make a focal point, so I tried to make it stand out. This is another little butterfly that I wanted to make a focal point. It's kind of like a bumblebee butterfly. I should have put stripes on it to make it look more like a bumblebee. Using my white gel pen to add highlights. The paper didn't really like the gel pen and just kept rubbing off, so I did switch to using my whiteout pen. Just finishing off the page. For page 2, I thought the pattern in the background looked like closed flowers. So I drew some closed flower buds and some rose buds too. Usually I just like to use my black micron pens because the backgrounds are usually pretty colorful already, so they don't need any more color. But for this background, I thought it would look nice with a little bit of colored pencil, so I used my Crayola colored pencils as a base color for the flowers. Pencils. I have Prisma, Arteza, and Derwent Academy watercolor pencils, and those are what I use to build up the layers of color. When it comes to colored pencils, there's no beaming Prismas, but if you're looking for a cheaper alternative that works just as well, the Arteza brand pencils are great. They blend well, they give a nice soft texture, and they're a great range of colors, so I definitely recommend them. I will put a link to them below if you'd like to get them for yourself. tried to match the background color with the color of the flower buds as well, and the page actually turned out so good that Jake wanted to put it in his office, so I'm really happy it turned out that well. Last episode, I mentioned that I wanted to try some zentangle designs, so that's what I did for this page. Some crosshatches, zigzags, waves, things like that. I used some reference photos of different zentangle designs to help me. To add a focal point to the page, so I drew this bunny as my focal point and I just thickened the lines up so that it's more noticeable that that's the focal point. I did draw two butterflies that are hidden somewhere on this page, so let me know in the comments if you found them. Pages. I really like the first page. I think that's probably my favorite one just because I like the little highlights. I think it looks like a galaxy, the placement of them. They're all really good in their own way, and I really liked how they all turned out. I was running out of page ideas, so I went to Instagram and found this reference image. I try not to make my page look exactly like theirs, but they do look very similar, and I always like to give credit where credit is due. So the link to all the reference images I used in this video will be in the description, as well as all the art supplies I used. You guys seem to love this series, and I really love making them. So it means a lot to me that you all are watching and enjoying. I really wanted to add lots of details in this episode. This page took me so long to do. There were so many stems and tiny little details that I was putting in there. It took me all together probably around 3 to 4 hours. I really like using my white Posca pen for the highlights. Gel pens just don't work on this type of paper for some reason, so I would definitely recommend using a white Posca paint pen, but a little goes a long way. This page ended up looking beautiful. We got some juicy highlights and some bold flowers. My favorite thing about this page is the little squiggly lines coming off the flowers and the stems. For this page, I forgot to press record for the start, but I got a comment in Reverse Coloring Book episode 4, which was a very nice comment, and they were asking if I had any ideas on what to do for these black and white pages, and it got me thinking. So I looked at the page, and the first thing that came to my mind was Dalmatians. So I used this reference image here of the dog from 101 Dalmatians, and I also wrote one of the main Dalmatians in the movie's name, Pongo, on the collar. And I've always been obsessed with animals, so of course I loved this movie as a kid and still do. So it was really fun to bring this character to life on the page. This is probably my favorite page out of all the ones I've done so far. It turned out looking so cute. I love the black spots. And here's the close-up of the result. The collar is probably my favorite part. So cute. For this last page, I wanted to mix it up and use my favorite art supply, Posca paint pens. I love them so much. For a lot of these pages, I just use my black fine liners, but for some of the pages, I wanted to branch out and use different types of art supplies, not just my fine liners. So when we do the final flip through, you have some pages that are unique. I was thinking of using watercolor on one of the pages for episode 6. I am talking way too fast. I need to slow down. I used water to blend these Poscas, and it actually works quite well. I really like how these butterflies turned out. I actually drew some butterflies in my sketchbook, which was very similar to the ones I drew here. Blending with Poscas can be a little tricky, but I do know several different techniques to blend them, and I was actually thinking on making a tutorial on how Posca pens work and how to use them, how to blend with them, stuff like that. So if that's something you're interested in, you can let me know in the comments. I love this little caterpillar I drew. It's so cute. Just adding the highlights. And here's the final page done. If you have done any reverse coloring book pages or any other artwork and would like to show them to me, you can send them to me on Instagram. I would love to see it. The link to my Instagram is in the description. You guys seem to really like this series, and I'm really glad y'all are enjoying it. The idea for this page came pretty easily. As soon as I looked at the page, I saw sunflowers. The petals don't look exactly like sunflower petals. I just followed the petal shape that I saw on the page, and I really like that you can still tell that they're sunflowers, but the petals are a bit different and unique, which I think look really pretty. I really like trying out different mediums on these pages. In my last episode, I used Posca paint pens, and for this episode, I'm using watercolor. And surprisingly, the watercolor did not bleed through the page. This paper is actually really good at handling different art supplies, especially watercolor. After adding the watercolor, the lines faded, so off camera I just went back over those lines, and I also outlined the orange shading that I did to give the sunflower some depth. And here I'm just filling in the background to finish off the page. And here's how the page looks finished. I really like how the watercolor and the petals turned out. Page number 2 had some really cool colors, and how I got the idea for this page is I was stimming a bit while I was recording, and if you don't know what that is, it's repetitive or unusual body movement or noises in people with ASD. For me, it's mainly my hands are always shaking a bit, but some days I shake more than usual, and this was one of those days, and it gave me the idea of creating different shapes all over the page and just let everything flow and let the shakiness be a part of the design. I used my Sony camera for this page and the last page, and the camera was doing weird things, like it wouldn't hold a charge or would randomly stop recording. I think it's broken, I'm not sure, but if you see the lighting change or a slight change in quality, then that's why. So here I'm just flipping back and forth to my rose page I did in a previous episode because I forgot how to draw them. So I was just copying them onto this page. The first rose didn't quite turn out the way I wanted, but the second rose turned out perfect. For this page, I wanted to have a variety of thin and thick lines, so I used a 0.1, 0.2, all the way up to the 0.8 and 1.0. Finishing up the background, and here's how it turned out. And I think having that variety of thin and thick lines turned out looking really cool. For this page, I drew some closed flower buds with some big leaves and colored them in with my colored pencils. When I'm using colored pencils, I first like to start out by using my Arteza and Crayola brand colored pencils to build up the color as a base. Then I do my shading and my final layers with Prismas, then blend it all together with my white Prisma pencil. The white colored pencil is the final stage of the coloring. It blends everything together and gives your colored pencils that nice smooth look. You can also blend colored pencils with a pencil solvent. I think one of them is called Zest It Pencil Blend, something like that, and that makes your colored pencils look really nice as well. So I'm hoping to get some of that for Christmas. At some point my camera randomly stopped recording, so the flower that's next to the one that I'm coloring in now is the one it decided to stop recording on. For some reason it just didn't want me to color in that flower today. And to finish off the page, I'm just adding my highlights. And for those of you who don't know what to use for creating highlights on these pages, the only product I found that works for highlights on this type of paper is a whiteout pen. I'm using the Papermate liquid whiteout pen. And here are how all the pages turned out. I really like all of them, but the sunflower one is probably my favorite. I wanted this episode's pages to have very detailed drawings. For this page, I did this really pretty mermaid lying down on a rock. I forgot to add the shading and detail for her chest here, but I added that off camera. Adding shading with fine liners is a bit tricky, but how I do it is I draw some short lines and cross hatching. I'm not the best at drawing faces, so her face looks a little cartoonish, but I tried my best to make it look good. Here I'm just drawing the rock. I just outlined the shapes that I saw to make small rocks and then added some squiggly lines in between them. I also used some multicolored fine liners to give the rocks a little more color. For the background, I'm using my colored fine liners and a Posca pen to add some lines on the shapes, and then took my smallest fine liner and outlined the rest of the background like I do with all of my pages. I really love how this page turned out. Her hair and her tail look really pretty. I wanted the mermaid to be the focal point of this page, so I didn't add too much to the background. For this page, I used a bunch of different reference photos and drew some buildings. A few of the buildings are meant to look like buildings you would see in Paris. I've always wanted to go there, so I thought that would be a nice little addition. And the rest of the buildings are just regular city buildings. In previous episodes, I mentioned that white gel pens don't work on these pages, and that's actually not true. So I'm sorry for that misinformation there. What happened was I'm very impatient, so when I went to use it, I didn't give it enough time to dry, and it just smudged and came right off. So I didn't realize that it needed to dry, which is a rookie mistake. So gel pens do work. Just make sure you're not impatient like me and let it dry for a few minutes before you close the book or it will come off. I still prefer my whiteout pen, but it's really good to know that the gel pen works too. Normally, when I finish the drawing, I'll outline the background with my smallest fine liner, but I didn't do that for this page because I think it looks good without it. This page came out looking very detailed, which I love, and my favorite building is the one with the plants coming off the planter, the cat in the window, and the lamppost at the bottom. I also really like the building with the stairs too. I'm very happy with this page. I love doing floral designs. A lot of my paintings are floral and my drawings. Floral is just my style, so I drew a nice little floral arrangement. I did add a few details, but I wanted it to be kept quite simple. There's not much to say about this page. I'm just drawing the flowers that I see in the shapes, then adding some details and highlights. This page turned out looking really pretty. I love the small flower in the bottom right corner there and the small butterfly. I really like drawing butterflies. I love how all these pages turn out. They all look so beautiful, and this is definitely my favorite episode that I've done. For this first page here, I drew some cats and on the circles, and I found this reference image on Instagram, and I love cats, so I chose to copy this page onto mine. And I usually don't copy reference images exactly like they have. I try to put my own spin on it, but it was really hard to do that with this one, so I can't take full credit for this page. to add some personality to this page. So to make my one a little different from the one I saw on Instagram, for the circles on the background, I decided to get my Posca paint pens and my colored fine liners and go over those circles and give them a little bit of color. And then to finish them off, I took my black fine liner and did some squiggly lines inside of the circles. Here's how the first page turned out. I really like it. I think the background's really nice, adding a bit of color, and I love how the cats turned out. They all look really cute. For page 2, this is probably one of my favorite pages. I wanted to do a nice little sewing theme for this page, which I thought is a really cool idea. So all of these big flowers, I wanted to make the focal point. So I used a really thick fine liner to outline these and added some little details inside, and then I went around the outside and drew those little short sewing lines that you would see when you hand sew things, and then drew a little needle next to each one so that they're obvious that they've been sewn onto the page. After I finished drawing the needles, I did these little butterflies and some other little shapes in the foreground. I also wanted to make the foreground shapes look like they were sewn in as well, so I did the little short lines around them too. Once I finished with the foreground, I took my white gel pen and added highlights to the places I thought needed it. For the background, I took a very fine micron fine liner and outlined all the shapes that I saw in the background. And to finish off our sewing theme illusion, I'm drawing a big hand-sewn border around the entire page with a needle and thread on the bottom to make it look like this page has been sewn into the book. And here's how the page turned out. I think the sewing theme works really well with this page. Everything looks like it's been hand sewn in. It's beautiful. For the final page of this episode, I went with an abstract theme because that's my painting style. So I incorporated that here, and I drew this really loopy, loose line and just filled in the loops with zentangle designs. And I just did that one more time, and that's all I did. I wanted to keep this page pretty simple because I think simplicity can look really beautiful sometimes, especially with the background like this. So for the background, we're keeping it simple but beautiful, and taking my purple colored fine liner and outlining the purple shapes, and then taking my black micron fine liner and outlining the dark orange shapes. here is the final result. I think the combination of abstract and the simplicity really is beautiful. I really like this page. And here is one last final look at all the pages together. I think they all turned out really nice. For this episode, I've chosen 3 simple pages to do because I'm still not 100% recovered, but I still wanted to make some art for y'all. So for our first page here, I've just done some pretty simple flowers with some leaves and some stems. Even though these flowers are quite simple, I still think they're really pretty. There is like a lot of beauty and simplicity, I think, and you don't have to make these pages be so complicated with these big detailed drawings. Sometimes it's nice to just tone it back a little and do something nice and simple like this one. Now I'm just going in with some highlights and then I am outlining the background. I accidentally rubbed off the gel pen here, so I just went back and added more of those highlights before finishing off the page with my signature. This is the finished page and I really like it. The flowers are pretty and it's really simple, which I like. For page 2, I wanted to keep it very abstract and just draw what I saw in the colors and kind of let my emotions guide me. I'm using Posca paint pens for this page. I drew some shapes and creatures in the foreground with my purple, blue, and green Poscas. Then I did the background shapes using my black Posca. And I drew a bunch of little shapes here and some cute little creatures. Let me know in the comments if you can spot some of the creatures that I drew in there. They are pretty well hidden. I just kept everything very loose for this page and I didn't want to think too much about what I was drawing. I just wanted to get my Poscas onto paper and just draw and have a bit of fun with it. This is where I start outlining all the background shapes with the black Posca. put some of my painting style into this page, which is intuitive abstract, and I think I achieved that. I enjoyed letting go and just creating random shapes and creatures, and this was a really fun page to do. For this final page, I wanted to create a cheetah motif and show off my wild side. Unfortunately, I got so wild that I forgot to record me drawing the first cheetah here, but I will give him some company shortly. Next, I wanted to outline the spots on the page with my colored microns to really highlight them and make them pop. I am sure I got the idea for the cheetah theme from my iPad, which has a spotted theme also. I tried my best to make these cheetah spots look somewhat realistic. I don't know if I did that, but I think it turned out pretty cool. What do you think? Now that the spots are highlighted and looking lovely, we're going to make sure our spotted friend here isn't lonely, and we'll draw him a companion. I think this page turned out looking really cool. I like how the cheetahs are going opposite directions, like a street with cheetah cars driving off to work. And here are all the completed pages. I like all the pages, they were all really fun to do. I think the abstract page was the most unique looking one, and the flower page was probably my favorite. For this first page, I started by using fine liners to draw some butterflies, adding delicate details to make them stand out. Then I used watercolors to bring some color to the page. After that, I grabbed a dropper and splattered watercolor paints all over for my signature abstract effect. Then finally, I added some highlights with a Posca paint pen to give certain areas some extra pop. With these pages, it's all about layering and experimenting to create something fun and unique. I love using different mediums to make these pages pop. I drew butterflies because butterflies have always had a deep meaning for me. When my mom moved us from the US to Australia, I really struggled with that. I didn't like Australia. I wanted to move back to the US, and I was also struggling with my diagnosis. So I often wished I could just fly away like a butterfly, free to go wherever I wanted. Over time, I found happiness here after meeting the love of my life. I do get homesick occasionally, and one day I do hope to go live back in the US, but until then, I'm quite happy here, and I am very fortunate that I get to go back to the US every year to see family. Now, when I think of butterflies, I think of breaking free and finding peace. I absolutely love how this page turned out. I love drawing butterflies, and the butterflies in this look so cute, and that abstract effect really does make the page stand out. For this page, I saw petal-like shapes in the colors, so I used fine liners to draw the flowers and then colored them in with colored pencils and blended everything with Gamsol for a smooth and polished look. Flowers are a recurring theme in my art, just like butterflies and cats. I'm drawn to anything floral, from clothes to decor all around my house. It just feels very me and naturally finds its way into my work. I think this page turned out looking really pretty, especially with all the flowers like in the middle. It kind of looks like a big bouquet of flowers. For this page, I used markers, fine liners, colored pencils again, and a white Posca pen for the highlights, and water to create a woman's face. I chose to paint a face because I've always struggled with self-image issues, and I thought painting portraits would help me with that. I recently painted this self-portrait here, and it represents me and my unique perspective on the world. It's like capturing my inner self, a way to express how I see things through my autism. I know she doesn't have any eyes. That's because I'm not great at drawing them from this angle, and the reference image I used didn't have any eyes either. I'll probably add them off camera, and if I do, I will definitely show you that in the next episode. This was probably my least favorite page because I wish I drew her eyes and I wish I made the flower a different color than her hair. I definitely will probably add stuff to it later, but for now, this is how it is. Really happy with how all the pages turned out today. My favorite page was definitely the butterfly one. It was super fun to do the splatters, and it also had a special little story behind it. I hope you enjoyed this episode of Reverse Coloring Book. If you want to see more, be sure to check out the playlist link below for more episodes. And as always, stay creative, and I'll see you in the next one.